whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. I'm attorney Gavin Richard. I grew up here in New Orleans, so I know how important family, friends, and community are to us. And helping others has been a lifelong passion of mine. If you've been injured in an accident, you may be out of work and faced with large medical bills. You'll need someone to fight the insurance companies so that you can get on with your life. Give me a call at 504-799-2288, and I'll be with you all the way. The law offices of Gavin M. Richard, going the distance so that justice may be served. Hi, I'm attorney Gavin M. Richard. Check out my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that was higher than Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jell-O, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row. On Thursday nights, it was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it can make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Will you also be shocked to learn that attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. Available on Amazon this fall in Kindle and paperback format. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're blessed and doing safe. The place to be is right here with me, only on channel G-Boot 2786 and Gavin Richard, the backup channel. That's the only two channels we have for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. No Facebook or no Periscope. I'm going straight YouTube. Tonight, we will be discussing the following. Jury deliberates in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. State rest in the Ahmad Arbery trial. And Biden's executive order for Native Americans. All this and more tonight on channel G-Boot 2786. It is Random Topic Tuesdays. The place to be is right here with me. Now, taking care of a few house rules, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like to advertise, again, our email is gavin.grich1@gmail.com. You can email me exclusively for rates. We're about promoting your products, especially for the African American community. If you have products that you would like to promote, we certainly would love to have you sponsor our show and put your ads here. Also, if you'd like to subscribe and see exclusive content, we ask that you go to the Patreon and do that. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to ask you to check out our website for our Creole company, NonniesCreoleBlends.com. That's NonniesCreoleBlends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nonnies goes great with every dish. Also, guys, you know that I am a musician. I am a composer, I would say. And we have, this is the website for Nonnies. I always promote that. We also have our music that's available on Apple, Amazon, and Spotify, Video Soul. Check out that single, Video Soul, G-Rich. It's G-R-I-H. And also, ladies and gentlemen, of course, our theme song is Get On Up, because before we get on down, we got to get on up. So while we play that, sit back, relax. It's going to be a great show today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll holler in a minute.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll live. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do, cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body, cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do, cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body, cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up,
baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. On the floor. Get on up.
Baby, yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up. Baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
That's what I meant to do, is actually get on up at the end when you see me. What's up, everybody? Feel the groove, get on the floor. Time to get on up. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. I got my new glasses on, as you can see. The David Ruffin look. I've got sunshine, Otis. No one's going to see you, Otis. And I refuse to let you go. Man, you know, somebody said, like, the best Black miniseries. I remember when New Editions came out, they said that was the best one ever, passing the Jackson 5 miniseries and the Temptations. Which one was your favorite? We got to do a poll. Temptations, Jackson 5, or New Edition. I don't know any other Black docuseries that they've done on any artist. 5 Heartbeats, though, it was based on the Dells, but it wasn't exactly the Dells, if you know what I mean. So it was fictional. But my favorite, obviously, out of just the 3, probably would be the Temptations. I refuse to see nobody coming to see you, Otis. That one always gets me. Although I love the Jackson 5 one. Michael, Marlon, you're gonna get it. I want to play store. Candy, that's all you think about. Did y'all remember that part when Joe is asking Michael, "This what you do with all your money? How much you sell them for?" "A nickel." "And how much you purchase for?" "A nickel." You should stick to music. Stick to music. That was funny. Temptations was bad. Yeah, Temptations movie. Yeah, I love that one. You're gonna get it. All right, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? What's going on? A lot is going on. I'm just seeing stuff, man. They really going after Travis Scott's ass. Have y'all seen this? I just saw this on Twitter. It's being reported by TMZ that Travis Scott, is facing it's not just Travis Scott, but Travis Scott along with Live Nation, apparently Drake and Apple are being sued for $750 million by a lawsuit brought against them by more than 125 fans, including the family of one who died at the festival. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. I don't want to keep talking about it, but man, yeah. So 125 fans have filed this lawsuit, I guess, in a class action suit that's represented by Tony Busby. Now, you guys may know who Busby is. He is the lawyer, if you don't remember, who was representing those 20-something women who accused Deshaun Watson, the quarterback for the Houston Texans, of sexual assault. So he's representing them, and they're filing this suit against Travis Scott. They mentioned Drake, although you notice in the media they don't talk about Drake too much about it. Now look at this video. This was seen. Tariq Nasheed was talking about this. Why isn't the city? He says, why isn't the city being sued as well? You know, are they going to come at the city like they're coming at Travis? What they're doing is basically they're going after who the big name is. You know, Live Nation, obviously, they're the promoters of this. Travis Scott, it's his concert. Drake was just the guest star. But no, we're going to get Drake too, because you just got as much money as him. That's all it is. It's a big money grab, man. This didn't even happen to the hoop. Oh, wait, I got to mute this. Hold on. I got to mute it. I forgot because they'll give you a copyright strike. So fair use. But y'all see the police presence that's there. And cops were seen taking photos and watching Travis show for more than 25 minutes after the Houston Fire Department chief declared the concert a mass casualty event, seemed to back Scott's claim up. So Scott didn't realize the severity of what was going on. And how could he? Now, I'm not saying that there isn't some responsibility that he doesn't have. But there's no way, hold on a second. There's no way he could have, in my opinion, known all of that was going on. I don't believe he intentionally meant to, obviously, to kill people or anything like that. But at these concerts, you got 50,000 people there. And you got to consider the fact that you also had 5,000 extra people who did not buy a ticket that stormed those premises, climbing over the walls and fence to get in, knocking over barricades. We've talked about that before. But yeah, look, to hell with his kids, Darius. Damn, it's going to be his great-grandchildren that's going to be paying that off. But, you know, if Apple is involved, Apple obviously can be, if they're a promoter, they can be named in the lawsuit. And, you know, Apple is billions of dollars. Live Nation, the biggest concert promoter in the world, or one of, they're going to have to be sued because they're worth billions of dollars. So the park, NKJ Park, with NKG Park, where this was located, they got insurance. They're naming the lawsuit, I think, as well. So yeah, everybody is going to be sued. When there are debts involved, you best believe that. But no, I don't think this happened with the Who. I don't believe they were sued. Nothing from what I have read. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I read about that disaster, that incident, they did not get sued. Hell, they were still performing after the incident happened. They didn't even know about it. According to their sources, nobody told them, hey, this happened. Hopefully well, right now, he's getting his you-know-what call, Darius. So that's what's happening with Travis. You know, they always got to have the nigga to hang out to dry. So that everybody else, the whites, avoid punishment, the white supremacists, you know, they stay on code. You know, what's interesting too, I know she said, gave that Instagram post, but you haven't heard much from Kylie. I wonder what's going to happen. Is she going to stay with him after this? As you know, them Kardashians, all the girls that have married, you know, they basically made a living off of nothing. But the mama knows, like Chris, she knows how to get her kids money, how to get her girls to play the game, how to work the game, how to get in there. You're going to make this money. You're going to be your own empire. I mean, look at them. They got their own TV shows. They got lipstick deals. They got cosmetics. They have perfumes, all types of stuff that millions of dollars that pour in every year. Something else. But let us talk about let's get to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I guess we'll get started with this. Now, of course, you've been following the trial of Ralph Wiggum. I'm a medic. Yeah, the trial, the jury deliberations have begun in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. This is coming from the Associated Press, of course, about 10 hours ago, early this morning. The jury at Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial deliberated for a full day on Tuesday without reaching a verdict over whether he was the instigator in a night of bloodshed in Kenosha or a concerned citizen who came under attack while trying to protect property. The case went to the anonymous jury after the judge, in an unusual move, allowed Rittenhouse to draw from a selection of straws of the final panel of 12, whose job was to decide his fate. Rittenhouse reached into a raffle drum and drew numbered slips that determined which of the 18 jurors who sat through the case would deliberate and which ones would be dismissed as alternates. That task is usually performed by a court clerk, not the defendant. Judge Bruce Schroeder said later in the day that he has been having defendants do it for, I'm going to say, 20 years at least. The jury will return Wednesday morning to continue its work. Meanwhile, as the jury deliberated, dozens of protesters, some for Rittenhouse, some against, stood outside the courthouse. Some talked quietly with those on the other side, while others shouted insults. One woman could be heard repeatedly calling some Rittenhouse supporters white supremacists. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, who faced criticism over his response to the Kenosha protests in 2020, urged calm as the jury deliberated. He announced last week that 500 members of the National Guard would stand ready for duty in Kenosha if needed. The large protests that some had anticipated did not materialize during the trial's testimony phase. On most days, only a few demonstrators gathered on the courthouse steps, and the high fence that protected the buildings during the last year's unrest is gone. Rittenhouse was 17 when he went to Kenosha from his home in Antioch, Illinois, in which he said he was an effort to protect property from rioters in the days after a black man, Jacob Blake, was shot by a white Kenosha police officer. In a fast-moving series of clashes, look how they say it, in a fast-moving series of clashes in the streets, Rittenhouse shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber and wounded Gage Grosskreutz, now 28. Grosskreutz, now 28. During closing arguments Monday, prosecutor Thomas Binger said that Rittenhouse was a wannabe soldier who set the deadly chain of events in motion by bringing a rifle to protests and pointing at protesters just before he was chased. But Rittenhouse lawyer Mark Richards countered that Rittenhouse was ambushed by a crazy person, Rosenbaum. Of course, Rittenhouse has stated that he shot these three gentlemen in self-defense. And during testimony, Huber was shot after he hit Rittenhouse with a skateboard, and Grosskreutz admitted he had pointed his gun at Rittenhouse when he was shot. In his instructions to the jury, Schroeder said that to accept Rittenhouse's claims of self-defense, the jurors must find that he believed there was an unlawful threat to him, and that the amount of force he used was reasonable and necessary. The standard in self-defense is what would a reasonable person do in that case? Was it reasonable to expect that his life was in danger or that there was an imminent threat to him? Now, I believe I showed you all the Wisconsin law. I'm trying to show some video if I got it earlier today. I saw it on Twitter where they showed, okay, so here it is. Okay, so this is from earlier. This is how they were drawing the straws out of the lottery barrel. You're gonna see that right now. Hold on. Let me rewind it.
We'll draw 6 of the numbers. No, just separate them. And the names which are drawn out will be the jury will be dismissed.
Now, I've seen this judge. I've seen things he's done. Apparent, not admitting video evidence at Rittenhouse trial from him, punching a woman to him wearing that T-shirt where he's "fuck it, I'm free" after he was released on bail, to various different things he just did not allow, basically protecting this Rittenhouse. And he has been accused and pointed out by many for being biased, which I do believe how he's acted and behaved, even unprofessionally in this manner. I believe he has. Now, ooh, hello, Miss Tony Rock. But I honestly think, guys, Rittenhouse is going to walk. And let me just tell you why. I think that you have to just, all a defense attorney does is have to raise enough doubt within the minds of one member of the jury. That's enough for a mistrial or hung jury. And there was a lot of doubt. I'm going to admit, I look at this with unbiased eyes. There was some things I thought that the prosecutors had a hard time with. Obviously, not having that evidence admitted in hurt. Of course, if it was a black man who was accused of doing what Rittenhouse did, we wouldn't even have trial. That guy would have been dead on the streets. But even let's say, for the sake of argument, it had gone to trial, I have no doubt that this judge, in my opinion, would have admitted everything negative about the defendant. And the dropping of the gun charge, yesterday they dropped that because he said that he didn't like the way that the law was written, and there was some ambiguity within it about the length of the barrel. There was an exception for hunting, and as a result, that's why when the prosecutors conceded that there was an issue with the size of the barrel, meaning that a gun, if you're under the age of 17 or so forth, and that exception, it can't be this short and so forth. They have these different ramifications and qualifications for guns where how people can handle it. So, for instance, you can't carry. I couldn't in the state of Louisiana when I turned 18. I could have a shotgun. You could have a full rifle, but you could not own a handgun. I could not get a Colt 38. Because I can conceal it. So they say concealing weapons is bad, but long guns are good. That's what they say, because I can obviously see it. And yeah, the judge has been accused of being biased. I know Tariq Nasheed has talked about it. Meanwhile, you see, someone told me that Judge Alu Stevens, the black judge that's out in Kentucky, he's suing to keep his job. You know, Alu Stevens called out racism and how it was playing out in the court system out in Kentucky. He didn't like it, you know, especially how African Americans were being pushed out of the jury, and he protested it. Of course, he was the judge in the Breonna Taylor's boyfriend's case, and he dismissed the charge against him. So shout out to him. But judges are supposed to be neutral in a trial. They are not supposed to have any type of bias. And you compare and contrast that, and I'm gonna move on to my next topic with the Ahmad Arbery case and how that judge Timothy Walmsley has acted. Yeah, he threw the charge out. He also threw out the curfew charge because he was charged with violation of that curfew, and the judge accepted it. Yeah, the judge threw it out because he said that he didn't believe the prosecutors could prove their case. But, you know, that should be the jury to decide. If you think someone is innocent or guilty, if you think I acted in self-defense, and I've seen people say, well, this shouldn't have even gone to trial. This shouldn't have. Listen, the reason why we have trials is because there is a public, and trials are public, is because there is a concern among the public, especially based on the nature of the crime or alleged crimes, that they have an interest in, and we certainly cannot have murderers walking along the streets. That's why there's no statute of limitations on a homicide. Now, if he did act in self-defense, a jury should decide it, as they're doing. If he didn't violate this gun charge and you like the way and there's an issue with the law, I mean, it is not uncommon for a judge to throw out a charge. They can do that in the interest of justice. But a jury can also decide whether they think he violated that or not. I mean, by his own admission, I can't get over the fact that he left Antioch, Illinois for Kenosha, Wisconsin. That's the main problem I have. Now, that in and of itself is not illegal, but it does go to intent. What was his intent? And when he was admitted, he lied about being an EMT trying to get into this area. He was supposed to protect the property, but he's wandering the streets. He's making all these hand signals, talking with the police officers and so forth. All of this crap that's going on. And like I said before, he is a liability. So from the beginning, he should not have been there, period. This is not me defending the rioters either, because I don't condone that myself in person. And on other issue, and I've talked about this when we had Harvey and we had Sean on, it wasn't us that was out there. I talked with Nicole. Shout out to Nicole because it was on her show Sunday night. It was not out there that was doing all of that. Yeah, he was Baby Zimmerman. But from a legal perspective, because I know law and how the things work, I look at this, no matter how I feel personally about something, I know he was going to walk because, look, the dead tell no tales. Just like with Zimmerman, unfortunately, the only person who was alive that witnessed what happened was George Zimmerman. And of course, he could say whatever he wants. He didn't testify. He didn't choose to testify. They had Rittenhouse testify. And what's going to happen is Rittenhouse is going to walk. He's going to do some TV shows. He's going to do some book signings. He'll be a guest contributor on Fox News. And he'll auction off his rifle. That stuff is going to happen. And y'all know that even the prosecutor, he's getting attacked because he was pointing that gun at the jury and so forth. I was like, oh, this is an idiot. Now, and people were upset and shocked about that. But realistically, nothing was going to happen. Nothing could happen because when they play when you show guns in front of the jury, although it has happened before, where a lawyer, I can't think of his name, actually killed himself during a closing argument with a gun that was not loaded. Was not unloaded. But it does. But in that situation, my understanding is it was unloaded, and this is Thomas Binger, and I'm gonna go to Twitter for a second because these are the closing arguments.
Kyle, every person who was shot
the defense attorney
was attacking
and
Kyle.
He called Binger a liar, accused him of lying right in court. And the lawyer objected, but the judge said his closing arguments. In closing arguments, they do give you some leeway to say stuff. And normally you don't object, but you can object if there's something that they say that's not true, if they personalize a statement. Remember what happened last year, earlier this year with George Floyd, when there was an issue with the prosecutor personalizing their closing argument.
One with a skateboard, one with his hands, one with his feet, one with a gun.
And there they were yesterday, the prosecution and defense making their closing arguments. Joining us now, NBC News legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuaid, and on the ground in Kenosha, Wisconsin, NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber. Good morning to you both. And Ellison, we're going to start with you. The prosecution and the defense, they had their final opportunity to make their case before the jury. Tell us what were some of the highlights from their closing arguments.
So the prosecution began their closing arguments by asking the jury to ask themselves, why was Kyle Rittenhouse really in Kenosha? They say he came from out of town, that he did not know this business that he was said to be protecting, Car Source, at all prior to the evening, and that the owners themselves didn't care enough to stay, and that they had cleared everything out for the most part and had left by that point. They focused a lot on drone video from the very first shooting involving Joseph Rosenbaum. It's video that came into the trial fairly late compared to other videos, but the prosecution has really zeroed in on that, playing it again and again, slowing it down. They say it shows Kyle Rittenhouse walking up to that Car Source area where he's about to interact in moments with Joseph Rosenbaum, putting down a fire extinguisher he had in his hand, and then pointing his rifle at a couple that was nearby, and then also Rosenbaum. Then they say what happened next was that Rosenbaum gave chase. They're trying to convince the jury that that moment right there triggered everything else, and that in that moment, Kyle Rittenhouse was provoking Rosenbaum, and therefore he lost the right to self-defense. Now, the defense argued that the video didn't show that, or at times it was not clear, or other video. They focused a lot on attacking the credibility of some of the witnesses and the three individuals who were shot here, saying that Rosenbaum was a crazy guy, a bad guy, saying he was not chasing Kyle Rittenhouse down that night to give him a key to the city, and that Kyle Rittenhouse had no choice but to use lethal force to protect himself. Vicki, Savannah.
And Barbara, let's bring you in here. So Judge Schrader has already gotten a lot of attention during this trial, lashing out at the prosecution at times over judicial procedure. The judge's instructions to the jury, which were delivered before closing arguments yesterday, were also contentious. Let's listen to that.
I just worry that the more we deviate from these standard instructions, the more we get into these issues. I think we should stick with what you drafted, which has been sent to the parties. We've all agreed on them, and I am leery of any additional language that hasn't been cleared by the parties and could cause further confusion.
So can you walk us through the instructions that the judge gave and why this step is so important to a trial?
Yes, well, as you heard, in this case, the law is actually a little bit complicated under Wisconsin law because it sort of gives self-defense. It takes it away if you provoke, but then it kind of gives it back if you thought you had no other alternative. In that way, it's a little bit unusual. It also does not account for what's known as imperfect self-defense, which says even if what you did was unreasonable, if you genuinely believed it was necessary, that is a defense to the highest crimes, but not to these lesser included crimes. And that's not available. They only have what's called perfect self-defense in Wisconsin. So it is complicated. There are a number of charges, and each of those has a number of lesser included offenses. The thing I fault the judge for here is not working this out before he began reading it to the jury. Usually there are issues. The parties will disagree about what exactly should be read to the jury, because it really is important that they get the law correct as they apply it. But that's why you want to get it all done in one reading and not have a disjointed reading, because you get interrupted along the way. I think the judge was right that there was a problem, but I think they should have worked it out before they started reading it.
Barbara, thank you. Ellison, you've been following this very closely. The judge threw out one of the charges, a misdemeanor weapons charge, but said he will allow the jury to consider other lesser charges. So how does this change the equation for the prosecution and the defense, and now for the jury who has to decide this verdict?
Well, so that
Well,
misdemeanor charge, which was the illegal possession of a weapon by a minor, that was something that had been discussed, and the defense had wanted to have that removed prior to heading into the trial. But it was surprising that the judge made this decision so last minute. Basically, what they argued was that there was a technicality in the Wisconsin statute, and that law specifically applies to short-barreled shotguns or rifles, and that Kyle Rittenhouse had a long barrel. So that's ultimately what came into play there. That, though, was a charge that legal experts have consistently said was going to be kind of the easiest, most simply proven charge for the prosecution to get a conviction on here. So they lost that. That being said, the 5 charges, the 5 counts that still remain, those are all felony charges, 3 of them related to homicides. The first 3, the judge decided that he would not allow any lesser charges to be considered, even though the prosecution did ask. But on count 4 and 5, they are having lesser charges that they can consider. So count 4, they can look, the first one that relates to the shooting of Anthony Huber. If they cannot reach a consensus and agreement on first-degree intentional homicide, they can move to 2 other lesser charges related to that. Same deal in the shooting of Gage Grosskreutz, the sole person who survived. Guys.
And Barbara, quickly before we let you go, a process question here. So 18 jurors heard this case, but only 12 will deliberate and then potentially reach that verdict. How are those 12 jurors decided?
They'll pull the names at random. They'll be selected. Ordinarily that's very common to have a few extra alternates in case people get sick along the way. But they'll be selected randomly from these 18, and 6 will be told to stand by in case deliberations take such time and somebody has to drop out.
All right, Barbara McQuaid and Ellison Barber, thank you so much for helping us through this morning.
This whole thing, it seems like a damn circus, but hold on one second, guys. Jasmine says he's going to do it again. Look, I'm going to just say this, guys. Please step your Second Amendment game up if you have not. If you live in a southern state, great. Use it to your advantage. Please use it to your advantage. That's all I got to say about that. And I know we got some people that are in different cities, different states. Like I know in Chicago, the gun laws are terrible there. DC is terrible. I mean, in California, it's even worse, like on the number of rifles you have and what size and so forth. But now the guy who purchased the gun for Rittenhouse and gave it to him, he's being charged because he's been charged because you can't give a gun, and I'm going to wrap it up because I want to get to the next topic. I wasn't going to be too long. But you can't give a gun to someone that you know is not qualified, or rather not able to have a gun lawfully. So for instance, I can buy a gun for someone as a gift. Like if I'm going to if you're going to give a gun to your wife as a Christmas present or birthday present, you can do that. However, your wife cannot, and I'm going to use the ladies, she cannot have a criminal background. So she can't be a convicted felon. Because if you give a gun to a convicted felon, you can be charged with that. That's illegal. You can't give a gun to a minor. That's illegal, which was that in this case. Now, how it goes with the prosecutor, if they're not able to get some charges on Rittenhouse, the serious ones, I think they're going to go real hard against the guy who gave Rittenhouse the gun. The guy who gave... And look, he knew he wasn't supposed to have it. Dominic Black. And they knew it was illegal. Now, that doesn't mean, and in fairness, that does not mean his self-defense claim gets thrown out automatically because of it, but you knew you weren't supposed to have it in the first place. That's Dominic Black. Now, that's his sister's boyfriend. And he stated he bought the gun for him. This is some bullshit. Hold on, let me just play this clip because then we got to talk about the Arbery case because some stuff was going on in that.
You said you saw the defendant heading down, and then you heard some gunshots. What is the next thing you remember about the defendant after that?
I didn't believe the gunshots were actually his until I got a phone call, and I answered it, and he just said, "I shot somebody," and hung up right away.
When did you see him next after that?
I want to say just a few minutes right after that.
Was that back at 59th Street?
Yeah, that was the original location.
What observations, if any, did you make about the defendant you saw?
He was freaking out. He was really scared. He was pale, sweating a lot. You could tell he was just scared.
Did he say anything?
He wasn't really talking. He just said he had to do it. It was self-defense. People were trying to hurt him.
Did he ever say to you that someone was trying to attack him with a gun?
No.
Did he ever say to you that someone was trying to attack him with a knife?
No.
Did he ever say to you that anyone was trying to attack him with any sort of weapon?
No. We kind of all tried to calm him down. There were some people yelling. But we kind of made the idea that she'd turn himself in, but we couldn't do it in the one in Kenosha because there was people rioting at the front doors. So I took him home, and then we decided he should go turn himself in at the nearest police department.
Okay. Yeah. So this is gonna be interesting, guys. But yeah, they did. They raised $1 million. That's why he has those top-notch lawyers sitting next to him. So we're gonna move on now to the Ahmad Arbery case. Now this got interesting, especially on yesterday. I want to just play this video here. Now, this judge, Timothy Walmsley, to me, he has been done an outstanding job. I think he has been, I don't know about him being pro-prosecution, although he did lean, it seemed he did have an issue, obviously, with the defense attorneys and how they've talked to the court. And he has called out what he saw as intentional discrimination in the trial selection. But earlier today and yesterday, the defense tried to move for a mistrial in this case when Jesse Jackson appeared in the back of a court. Now, you remember that yesterday, the defense attorney, last week, the defense attorney made some comments saying that they didn't want any black pastors. This is Kevin Goff. He's the defense attorney for William Bryan in the courtroom. And the judge has already ruled that anybody can sit in the courtroom. It's public. The ADA, Linda Dudkowski, who's done a good job, she said that this is a public courtroom as well. Your Honor, I don't see what the purpose of this motion is. Well, they tried to do it again. And earlier today, they had a motion. He presented a motion on yesterday, oral, and he also presented one today to try and limit the amount of people in the courtroom. So this happened 12 hours ago. Jesse Jackson came
Here in
in.
just a few hours, prosecutors will resume their case in the murder trial of 3 men charged in the death of Ahmad Arbery. The judge Monday rejecting the defense request for a mistrial and blasting one attorney for comments objecting to Black pastors being in the courtroom. CNN's Martin Savage is live for us in Brunswick, Georgia. Martin, tell us the latest here.
Morning, Brianna.
Lord
Yeah,
knows
for a
I
time
don't
it looked
like
like
CNN.
this case was going to come to an
By the
abrupt
way,
and
fair
ugly
use.
ending. Not because
Fair use for Time Warner tries to come out and get me. Thank you. What's up, Black Voltron? Fair use, fair use. Let's go ahead.
of what was said on the witness stand, but because of what was heard and seen in the courtroom.
In the context of this trial, we object to his presence in the public gallery inside the courtroom.
An explosive morning in the trial of the 3 men accused of murdering Ahmad Arbery, with a still smoldering racially charged debate spurred on by defense attorneys over Black pastors in the courtroom.
If somebody is in the gallery here as a member of the public, that's their right to be here, and I'm not going to track individual members of the public who come in and out of this courtroom.
Defense attorney Kevin Goff objecting to Reverend Jesse Jackson's presence in the gallery.
How many pastors does the Arbery family have?
The nerve of this
we had
devil.
the Reverend Al
Whoa.
Sharpton here earlier.
How many? How does he even know that this is the Arbery's family pastors? They're not. Now, I have my issues with Jesse. I have my issues with, sure as hell, Al Sharpton. And I find it offensive that he actually thinks Black people listen to these two Negroes. We don't. I ain't seen Jesse in a long time. Oh, damn sure I don't listen to Al Sharpton. James Brown Jr. I don't listen to that motherfucker, you know. Ever since I saw Al become a bitch for the Democratic Party, hell no. And how he tried to play Eddie Griffin when Eddie Griffin got in trouble at the 100, you remember at the Black, was it the Black Enterprise Award show where they kicked him out because of his comedy? And he said Al Sharpton wasn't even at the show and was protesting him. He's like, fuck him.
Last week. Which pastor is next? Is Raphael Warnock going to be the next person appearing this afternoon? We don't know. Your Honor, I would submit, with all respect,
scumbag,
to Reverend Jesse Jackson, that this is no different than bringing in police officers or uniformed prison guards in a small town where a young Black man has been accused of assaulting a law enforcement officer or corrections officer.
This a recurring issue for William Roddy Bryan's defense attorney in a trial where race has been front and center. Jackson arrived at court Monday morning after Goff said this on Thursday.
We don't want any more Black pastors coming in here or other Jesse Jackson, whoever was in here earlier this week, sitting with the victim's family, trying to influence the jury in this case. If a bunch of folks came in here dressed like Colonel Sanders with white masks sitting in the back, I mean, that would be good.
He was actually referencing the Reverend Al Sharpton, who was in the courtroom on Wednesday to support Arbery's family.
Bobblehead, huh?
Goff apologized to the court on Friday, but brought up the issue again Monday. Judge Timothy Walmsley rebuked the defense attorney.
Now, with individual members or individuals coming into the courtroom, I will say that is directly in response, Mr. Goff, to statements you made, which I find reprehensible. The Colonel Sanders statement you made last week, I would suggest maybe something that has influenced what is going on here. You need to understand, everybody, that your words in this courtroom have an impact on a lot of what's going on.
Ahmad Arbery's neighbor, Carol
Amen.
Flowers, was called as a witness. During her testimony, Arbery's mother began to cry when a photo of her son alive was shown. the emotion leading to a break. After that break, Goff asked the judge to again take account of every person in the gallery, saying he was fearful certain individuals could sway the jury by being present, adding,
Your Honor, the case law out there in mob cases and other cases demonstrates all the ways that presence in a gallery can influence jurors in a case. And I certainly don't mean to suggest that Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or any other pastor belong to a mob, but at the same time, we are talking about organized behavior by whoever outside the courthouse leading up to this case, where we have all these community leaders fearful that the city's going to burn down.
That's when all three defense attorneys moved for a mistrial, claiming their clients were not receiving a fair trial, also citing Arbery's mother's emotions.
Based on that outburst, the court is not granting a mistrial.
Jackson said this later outside the courthouse.
As for them challenging my right to be there, the judge stood with my constitutional right to be there and my moral obligation to be there. I'm about people who are in need, whose backs against the wall. That's what we do. So we're going to keep staying with this family. It's a priority and focus of ours now.
The trial resumed in the afternoon with a series of forensic experts testifying about fingerprints, fibers, and enhancements made to a cell phone video. That video shows Arbery's death on February 23, 2020, after he was chased by Gregory and Travis McMichael, an armed father and son, and their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan. The three pursued the 25-year-old in their pickup trucks before cornering him and Travis McMichael shooting him. The prosecution presented the weapon used in the shooting and even showed images of holes in Arbery's shirt.
Can you show the jury how close that gun would be to that T-shirt?
A firearms expert for the Georgia Bureau of Investigations testified that Arbery was shot at close range.
The end of the shotgun was very
Those are burn marks.
close to that fabric when it was fired. But to have something
Point
that
blank.
large, it had to be made by in my opinion, made by the gas from the tearing of the large amount of gas that exits the end of the barrel of the weapon. Also observed is the rolling of the fabric where the edges of it are seared and rolled up.
Arbery's mother reportedly kept her eyes closed during the replays of the cell phone video of her son's last moments. She later said she was satisfied with the prosecution's case.
The state is doing a very fantastic job in presenting the evidence in the case. I'm very confident that we will get justice for Ahmad.
As he was getting into his car last evening after trial, I caught up with attorney Kevin Goff, and I asked him what's next. He implied he was going to be busy last night working on a new motion. What that motion is about, we're not quite clear, but it's pretty obvious we haven't heard the last on the issue of black pastors and the threat he believes they pose to this case. Brianna and John.
Wow. Martin, thank you so much.
Joining me now is Charles Coleman, civil rights attorney and former prosecutor and trial attorney. Counselor, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We don't want any more black pastors here. How many black pastors does the Arbery family have? What's the strategy behind what defense attorney Kevin Goff is doing?
Well, the strategy, John, is simply to try and appeal to the lowest common denominator, the lowest common factor that he can in terms of throwing out a Hail Mary in hopes that somebody is going to leak something to the jury and potentially get someone on the same wavelength that he is in terms of picking up what he's putting down. He has decided he's going to go all out in terms of putting down the dog whistle and picking up the bullhorn around what it is to shout and spout racist rhetoric as a means of trying to connect to the 11 white jurors on that jury as opposed to the one black. I have long said that race is the 13th juror in this case. It is being held in Brunswick, Georgia, and from the outset, what we saw with respect to jury selection and how this trial has proceeded, and with Bryant's repeated attempts to keep certain people out of this courtroom, it is undeniable that he is trying to play the race card when it comes to securing something for his client.
Let me say this too. I agree with this attorney. You know, there's something we call opening the door. When a witness testifies and they say something, you saw that in the Rittenhouse case where the prosecutor thought he could go into the post-arrest silence because Rittenhouse had said something contrary, even though in the order that the judge gave, he said, and you don't discuss it. Well, Goff has brought in the issue of race in front of the judge. He brought up the issue of race when he made that remark about black pastors. Yeah, you need to just strike a motherfucker. I'm not going to play the rest of this video because there's more I want to show you. The other thing that happened too today is that the doctor who performed Ahmad's autopsy, Dr. Donald Donahue, actually gave testimony. And his testimony was that he being Ahmad, was essentially dead before he hit the ground, the medical examiner stated. Dr. Edmund R. Donahue, medical examiner, took the stand. Donahue performed Ahmad Arbery's autopsy. Here's what we have to say about the gunshot wound to Arbery's hand. But yeah, this attorney Goff keeps bringing this up. He filed this motion before the court. They tried to get a mistrial yesterday because of this mother crying out. If you have ever been in a criminal court proceeding, especially when there's a homicide, it is not uncommon for, number one, the family members to be there. It's usually they're sitting present in the court. And it is not uncommon if you hear someone crying. Normally what happens, if it disrupts the court proceedings, they'll escort that person out. The judge necessarily doesn't kick them out, but what will happen is they'll administer, they make them step out so that they don't interrupt the court, they don't interrupt the testimony. It is not uncommon for a mother, and I have seen it, to cry, especially over the death of her child. So that was expected. This judge has been quite professional. I'm gonna play this. I gotta run for a second.
At the time of your report in April, that the gunshot wounds on Mr. Arbery's body were the result of a struggle over a shotgun.
Yes.
Okay, and you knew that from the information gathered by, I think you said, Alexis Brown.
Let me just check on that. Well, it says an altercation that resulted in him being shot multiple times.
Well, it says a struggle over the shotgun in your report, does it not?
In my report.
On page page 5 of your report, didn't you state that the 25-year-old black male Ahmad Arbery died of multiple shotgun wounds sustained during a struggle for a shotgun?
Yes.
Okay. So you were aware at the time you wrote the report that there was a struggle over a gun?
Yes.
You were aware, were you not, that Mr. Arbery in fact had his hand on the shotgun?
Well, if there was a struggle, I guess he did. I didn't have any video of the incident.
Okay. And the video wouldn't change that. You saw, in fact, in the video and in the frame-by-frame, a struggle over the gun.
Right.
You saw in the frame-by-frame that Mr. Arbery had his hand on the shotgun, correct?
Yes.
You saw in the video and in the frame-by-frame that even with the wound to the wrist, Mr. Arbery was able to swing punches and hit Travis McMichael.
Yes.
Nothing about the radial artery or the wound that we saw in Exhibit 12.
Ulnar artery.
What did I say? Radial artery, not radial artery, ulnar artery.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing about that wound, the blood spurting, or any other damage to the tissue prevented Mr. Arbery from holding the gun with one hand and swinging and hitting Mr. McMichael with the other hand.
That's correct.
Of course, as the medical examiner, it's not your concern of what led up to that moment.
I'm not sure I understand that question.
You don't know what happened at Larry English's house.
No.
You don't care what happened at Larry English's house.
Well, I don't know that I don't care.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't ask about what happened at Larry English's house. No one reported it to you.
Well, there was television coverage of that.
I mean, officially.
Oh, no, officially, no.
Okay. It wouldn't change your opinions in this case. You're looking at the body and reporting as a scientist what you see on the body.
That's correct.
Did you ever reconcile with Bryan Lepper why you came to the conclusion that the chest wound that you examined, that the target to muzzle distance of the chest wound, in your opinion, is from 20 to 3 inches, and Mr. Lepper's opinion is it's either a contact or near contact, which he describes as an inch. Did you ever reconcile that?
Well, I told him that I thought that he was shot through the wrist in front of the chest. And no, I guess we never reconciled that. Although, I felt because we kind of agreed because we both said it could be.
Now, I don't know if anybody missed the
yeah.
trial, but what they're trying to establish, obviously, as the medical examiner, what happened with Ahmad Arbery, as far as the gunshot wounds, the wounds he had. Arbery was hit in the torso and in the armpit with 2 different shots. And he was also paralyzed. His left arm his nerve was shattered. The nerve that runs here, because he was hit in the armpit, it was shattered. So he could not attempt to do anything.
So the one area of agreement that you have in your muzzle to target distance is you both agree it's at some point it could be within an inch to 3.
It's possible, yes.
Okay.
I said 3 inches. Yeah.
You said 3,
Yeah,
but he testified to 1, and you disagree with that opinion.
Well, I don't disagree with it, but my opinion is 3 because you have the wrist there. You can't get any closer.
So let's talk about that for a second. You were asked by the GBI back in May if you could determine the sequence of shots.
Yes.
And through Shannon Walden, you reported to Lawrence Kelly, that's his right name, Agent Kelly, that you could not determine the sequence of shots, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You were asked actually by the FBI in July of 2020 if you had an opinion about the sequence of shots, right?
Yes.
And you reported to the FBI that no, you don't have an opinion as to sequence of shots, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, by July of 2020, certainly you were aware there was a video.
Yes.
Did you say to the FBI, you guys, if you want an opinion, bring me the video and I'll look at it?
Well, that's not how it runs. Usually there's a prosecutor who will contact us and he will talk about the case. And at that time it might come up, but we don't continue to work on these cases if there's nothing happening.
Okay, but you were being contacted now by 2 investigative agencies and asked your opinion. You were aware they wanted your opinion about this.
Well, I'm not sure why they wanted my opinion about it. In fact, the people should know generally we do not have opinions about the order of the shots.
It actually is something that's fraught with danger for a medical examiner to give an opinion about the order of shots.
The medical examiner just can't do that. I don't know how he can do it.
Right.
This is an exceptional circumstance where there's a video.
Right. And that's what you told the FBI. We don't do that. That's not something our office does.
Correct.
But once you were provided the video, you now, as you testified, do have an opinion about the order of shots.
Yes.
Okay. And it's based on your analysis of the frame-by-frame photographs from the video.
That is correct.
Okay. Ms. Dunikoski posed to you a couple hypotheticals of how Mr. Arbery's wounds were in fact inflicted, right? One question was, could the wound to the wrist, which you've described now for the jury and shown them, have occurred because Mr. Arbery swiped the gun and somehow the
Yes.
shot was from his thumb to his pinky.
Well, that's not exactly what she asked me. I don't, and I think I answered that question with a no, didn't
I think you did.
I? Okay.
Okay. Another alternative explanation, would you agree, is that Mr. Arbery, in fact, grabbed the gun, and when the gun was pulled back and fired, it could have caused the injury.
That could have happened, yes.
And that is consistent with
The injury is to the wrist, though.
would have been more like that.
Yes.
Okay. And that's consistent with the video and the frame-by-frame analysis that you've seen in this case.
Well, I don't know. I couldn't see where that happened. It happened in front of the truck. So-
Right. So you're doing your best to give opinions, but you really couldn't see.
Well, I know the location of the wound, and I know that it bled.
So when you do see the wound to the wrist, it's already to the left of the truck as we're facing.
Well, I don't know that all I see is the blood coming from the wound at the wrist.
Right. And I mean, that's what informed you was the blood,
Right.
the arterial spurt.
Yes.
Okay. My question is it consistent with the wrist wound for Mr. Arbery to have grabbed the gun and the gun been pulled back by Mr. McMichael when it was fired?
That's possible.
That would have explained both the injury to the wrist and the injury, the close contact or near contact or 3-inch wound or a distance.
Allow room for the wrist and
Right. Couple inches. Okay.
Was all the jury able to see that?
You testified today. By the way, I don't know, from looking at the video in your analysis for this case, did you determine how many times Mr. Arbery punched Mr. McMichael?
I did not.
You didn't count it?
I did not.
Okay. And testifying about Mr. Arbery's actions after being shot. Let me back up a second. You watched the video and saw him, despite having a shotgun wound to the chest.
Now y'all pay close attention to what he's about to say.
And the wrist. He's still able to push Mr. McMichael through the truck off screen from the video.
Yes.
Some 10 feet or more from what you can see on the video.
Yes.
Still able to punch and grab the gun at the same time he's punching from the video.
Yes.
And you described the adrenaline that Mr. Arbery could have had, which could explain why he's able to continue doing that.
Yes.
And I think you described it as a fight or flight response.
That is correct.
Now,
Flight
again, you
or
don't know
fight
what
response.
preceded what you saw on the video, right? In terms of what Mr. Arbery had been doing beforehand.
Well, there's a lead into the video. He was obviously running.
He was running towards Mr. McMichael.
He was running toward the truck.
Well, did you see Mr. McMichael in the video?
Yes.
Okay. He's actually running towards Mr. McMichael, is he not?
Well, I don't know that he was running toward Mr. McMichael. He went around the right side of the truck.
Went around the right side of the truck and then cut left.
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did you see to the right of Mr. Arbery a yard, a neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. So you're not saying in looking at the video that he couldn't have continued to run, right?
Speculation, and by the way, I think the jury can go ahead and see and determine what Mr. Arbery could or could not have done.
I think Dr. Donahue's testimony was in describing fight or flight that after he could no longer flee, he could fight. And I'm asking him, is there any evidence that Mr. Arbery could no longer flee?
So you're asking what that's based upon?
And what his testimony was based on?
Good.
What, could you repeat the question?
Sure. I believe you testified on direct examination that someone in the fight or flight mode, when they can no longer flee, can fight.
They can,
Okay.
yes.
You didn't see any evidence that Mr. Arbery could no longer flee, right?
Well, no, I didn't.
Okay. You examined his body. He was a muscular 25-year-old man, right?
Yes.
Looked to be in good shape from the autopsy, physical shape.
Yes.
Okay. And so there was nothing physically preventing him from continuing to run, right?
No.
And nothing, in fact, from the video you examined from the neighborhood preventing him from running.
That's correct.
You described the basis for the adrenaline dump and cortisol running through his veins as caused by stress.
Or fear.
Or fear?
Yes.
Anger?
Anger too, yes.
Okay. And you have no idea what he was afraid of at that point in time.
A shotgun. Shit.
Well, there's a man holding a shotgun out there.
Right. So could have been afraid of being shot.
And there was a man following him in a pickup truck.
Okay. Could have been afraid of being caught.
Caught? I don't understand.
Do you know if Mr. Arbery was afraid of being caught?
I don't.
Right. You don't know what you don't know.
Well, yes, I don't know what I don't know.
You testified that there was nothing that could be done on scene that could save Mr. Arbery's life. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
The phrase you used when you talked to us in March is he was essentially dead before he hit the ground.
Yes.
Excuse me, 1 minute. Thank you. That's all I had, Your Honor.
All right. So yeah, he spoke for a good while. I think for 40 minutes he was on cross-examination and he was under direct examination. We're going to continue monitoring this, but the state rested today. So tomorrow the defense will be presenting their argument. And, you know, of course they brought up this motion. I'm sure they're going to bring up another motion because Goff, if you saw the CNN report, was getting ready to prepare another motion to file before the court tonight. He is making this shit an issue. That was the defense attorney, if I'm not mistaken, that was testifying earlier. So we're going to keep monitoring this, man. This is going to be crazy. I think all of this stuff happening now with Rittenhouse, now you have Ahmad, I apologize because I said state rest in the Ahmad Arbery trial. He is not on trial. I did not mean to put that. I meant to say McMichael Bryan trial, but I put Arbery, excuse me. Let me change that. McMichael Bryan trial. And y'all know Roddy Bryan actually had a chance to speak. His ass had to say this. Hold on, let me see. I got to move to our next topic because I got to run in a minute. But Roddy Bryan actually spoke in court today, testifying about his conditions.
Yes.
And although it's more formal than normal, given that Mr. Bryan's going to be sitting, it may be easier for me to sit down. I don't want him to think I'm talking down at him.
That's fine, it's fine.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Bryan, where are you currently residing?
Clinton County Detention Center.
How long have you been there, sir?
Like about 18 months.
Would you describe your incarceration as oppressive?
I'm sorry?
Would you describe your incarceration as oppressive?
Yes, sir.
And by that, you mean no disrespect to the sheriff, do you?
No.
It's not a
Can you
resort.
describe for the
It's
court
jail.
your daily routine over the past 18 months, approximately 18 months? 17 months?
Sorry, I was on here.
Well, except as you know, the last 3 weeks within here, but before that, it's, you get up at 5 o'clock.
It's jail. It's supposed to be oppressive.
Get your breakfast. You have a certain hour that you come out a day. So I'm locked down for 23 hours other than that.
Well, let's talk about that. Are you telling the court that you've basically been in lockdown or solitary confinement for the entire time you've been incarcerated?
For the most part, yes, sir.
And by that,
All right, I'm bored
you're telling the
already.
court
Let me stop.
There's nothing new here for the reconsideration. We've heard about the conditions at the jail, which are what everyone's experiencing out at the Glenn County Jail. There is nothing new here, and his ability to prepare his case has not been impaired in any way. His contact visits with his lawyer, access to a telephone to talk as much as he wants, 2 times a week, 15-minute video conferences. So at this point in time, none of this criteria takes us out of the Barker v. Wingo factors that were already decided. And there are numerous factors, and then the 3 parts for prejudice. And this is only one of the parts, and it's not even the part weighted heavily. So Mr. Goff has failed to, or Defendant Bryan has failed to bring anything to this court for your reconsideration. We ask that you deny the motion.
All right. The court's considered, or I've read through the second plea in bar. First, court notes that, I mean, technically it's untimely. It's outside the term of court upon which the original order was entered. So as a motion for reconsideration, it would be untimely. That's State v. Ross, 293 Georgia, 834 was actually a plea in bar case. But beyond that, the second plea in bar raises no additional issues. The first order, first motion was addressed through an order which specifically addressed the court date that was the beginning date for this trial, October 18th, 2021. We do have some additional information with regard to the 4th prong. The court's already addressed all of the other prongs and exactly how we got there, and having considered the evidence presented here today, finds that there is not sufficient prejudice to the accused under the 4th prong in order to grant the plea in bar. So I'll give you order of the court.
Okay. All right, so I'm done with that. But yeah, I mean, he's doing his job for his client, but I mean, shit. All right, I know what it's like. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, y'all, if y'all love the channel. Also, please, thank you, Black Voltron. Donate to the Cash App, GavinRichardEsq. You could also do Google Pay, gavin.grich1@gmail.com. Also, PayPal. Or you can hit that Zelle at the bottom at 504-289-4002. Roddy says, Darius says, Roddy Bryan punk ass talking about it's oppressive. Boo-hoo. You in Glenn County Correctional Facility. Laugh out loud. That's a cakewalk compared to where he headed. Said that bastard to McRae. He'll get his ass handed to him. The Three Stooges indeed. Yeah, check out my book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby, The Destruction of Due Process in America. Yes, that's coming soon, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be available on Amazon. I'm having like my legal department look over it, but by the end of the year, it should be ready. We're pushing for a fall release still. Also, I want to talk about something. Y'all remember I shared this story. We're gonna do 2 more things, but y'all remember the pea squirter that I showed the other day? This woman here, Sophia Urista. Well, a criminal complaint has been filed because she urinated on a fan on stage as the band played. And someone filed a complaint to the police. She was asked to fill out a report. And she did. And the person, her name is, they didn't give the name, but according to reports from Consequence, There are reports that Urista singled out the willful audience member who joined her on stage after saying, "I gotta pee and I can't make it to the bathroom, so might as well make a show out of it." An indecent exposure charge carries a maximum punishment of a year behind bars. A $1,000 fine is also a possibility. Now, the band members distanced themselves at first from their front woman. And you see these punk fans. This is why I never could get into punk rock and stuff. She says, "That's the most punk rock thing I've seen in a long time," wrote one commenter. "Keep up the work, great work. I'm going to have to catch the act." That's why I can't get into that shit. No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't even sit in a concert. You go in there to see that and you eating some nachos. You choke on that shit looking at this stuff, man. Ah. Sick. Yeah, but they did that to Bobby Brown back in the 80s. I think Bobby Brown had an indecent exposure charge for humping girls and stuff. But if he got that, yeah, she should get this. Yeah, that's just fucking gross. It's white people. That's all I can say. Yuck. The PP woman. Oh. Yeah, she's an LGBT. I know she's LGBTQ. Yeah. Yeah. Can't do that to me. Can't do that. Last thing we want to talk about, guys. Of course, Biden's executive order for Native Americans. Now, this is on the White House website. There's an executive order that was just signed yesterday on November 15, 2021. It says that executive order on improving public safety and criminal justice for Native Americans and addressing the crisis of missing or murdered indigenous people. By authority of vested in me as president by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, I hereby order as follows. Policy: the safety and well-being of all Native Americans is a top priority for my administration. My administration will work hand in hand with tribal nation and tribal partners to build safe and healthy tribal communities and to support comprehensive law enforcement, prevention, intervention, and support services. Generations of Native Americans have experienced violence or mourn a missing or murdered family member or loved one, and lasting impacts of such tragedies are felt throughout the country. Now, I'm not going to read too long into it, but this is what got a lot of people ticked off. They got a lot of people ticked off about this. And I saw my brother Tariq Nasheed post this, and a couple other people posted the video of this. But yeah, this is the video of him on C-SPAN.
This legislation is improving public safety and criminal justice for Native Americans and addressing the crisis of missing or murdered indigenous people. I'm proud to sign it. It's long overdue. There you go, Secretary. General, the title of this legislation is Improving Public Safety and Criminal Justice for Native Americans and Addressing the Crisis of Missing or Murdered Indigenous People. I'm proud to sign it. Long overdue. There you go, Secretary. General. Yes, sir. Secretary. Thank you all so very much. We're going to make some substantial change in the Indian country. It's going to continue. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yes, he did. Even I'm hearing even Kamala Harris is being mistreated by Biden. Y'all heard that? What's up, Kid Gravity? That was a golden hurricane. Yeah, that was a typhoon. Much shit is coming out. I thought she actually squirted a whole water bottle on him. Like, damn. How big is your bladder? Shit. Yeah. So, but look at this. Look at this. I'm looking at the order now. I'm just learning this, but I think I see something here. Now they're not. Notice how in this they're even talking about LGBTQ plus Native Americans. They say LGBTQ Native Americans and people who identify as two-spirit people within tribal communities are also often the targets of violence, and the vast majority of Native American survivors report being victimized by a non-Native American individual. So they talk about coordinating a law enforcement strategy to prevent violence and respond to violence against Native Americans. They're talking about policy. Supporting tribal and other non-federal law enforcement efforts to prevent and respond to violence against Native Americans, including getting the Attorney General involved. Improving data collection and analysis. Sounds like another crime bill. Tiffany Cross defended this. I'm not surprised. Yeah, people, fuckers are stupid. People are stupid. Those rock concerts, yeah, them motherfuckers are stupid. They're possessed by a demon. Something's wrong with them. Mommy's got a gun. Mommy's got a gun. Mommy's got a gun. She got shot by her son. Mommy's got a gun. Mommy's got a gun. Yeah, everybody, but getting back to this executive order, everybody's gotten something out of the president but Black people. And when you're talking about Native Americans who unfortunately are, and sadly, not even I don't think 3% of the population, their numbers dwindled, of course, by genocide, and we know all about that, the history of racism in this country, how American Indians were treated. But the fact that all of this is happening and not one bill, you didn't get an Emmett Till lynching bill, although that's part of the you know what agenda in that. You don't have the George Floyd Policing Act that they wanted to pass. That didn't even pass, although, yeah, I don't think George Floyd's name shouldn't have been on that. Given who he was and is, that shouldn't have been in. But the fact that nothing tangible has been given to African American, Black Americans, despite Biden praising the Black community for getting him in office, and they're just giving you the middle finger. And we have people that will still vote for this president, still vote for this party. I just can't wait until next year when 2022 comes around. That is going to be the Republican bloodbath. Now, it's not me endorsing the Republican Party, but you're going to see why a lot of people will go with the Republicans now. Oh, what's up, Bishop Scott? Yeah, you're going to see why a lot of people go to the Republican Party and vote that way. But this was disgusting. Yeah, I remember the talking heads that criticized Ice Cube when Cube wanted to talk business, and people said you were being Uncle Tom. Even Roland Martin called out Republicans. Armageddon, that's a good one. Yeah, just imagine what's going to happen in 2022. I mean, this is a straight F you to Black people. No tangibles, no vote. Do not vote for these people, guys. Do not vote for them. Do not vote for them at all. Too many white liberals in blackface, exactly. So we gotta be mindful of this stuff, man. Stop giving them your vote. I mean, it's just like what happened in New Orleans. We actually reelected the same people, and for whatever reason, Black people, especially here in New Orleans, we gonna vote just because. Yeah, Cantrell won the election by a landslide. There's no runoff. Yeah, TD, Mayor TD. That's all they're gonna. Stay away from my TD. Don't mess with my TD. And New Orleans East keeps getting shit. New Orleans East and the lower ninth ward still looks the same, and we keep reelecting these same people. I'm seriously considering moving because I'm fed up with it. Now, yeah, but that's a big FU to the Black community. I can't wait to talk to Sean about it. But guys, in the meantime, I gotta wrap this up. This has been a great live stream chatting with you all. It's good to see the Bishop Scott that is in here. Bishop was just doing Bernard's show. Shout out to King DJ, guys. Go subscribe to his channel. Again, you see the Cash App, you see the PayPal links at the bottom. Please feel free to contribute. Also, ladies and gentlemen, check out our seasoning blends company, Nawny'sCreoleBlends.com. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nawny's goes great with every dish. I'm gonna have to get Bishop Scott to come on. Bishop, maybe you can come on this Thursday with Sean and I, if you would like. Daddy says, don't leave the Big Easy. Don't leave the Big Easy, Gavin. Man, the Big Easy is sleazy. The hell with it. Might stay in Louisiana, but I'll move to Slidell. Everybody in Congress should be voted out, Bishop. Everybody, all of them. Yeah. I'm just so sick of the whole thing, Bishop. But yeah, all the more reason to stay because of the sleaze. Yeah. Now you from Atlanta, and even Atlanta. Let me say this, because I loved Atlanta, but even Jason Black was talking about how the black elected officials there have failed the black people. You know, they don't even own like downtown Atlanta anymore. All you got is high rises. When I was down there in Atlanta for the FBA conference, I mean, you don't have blacks that own those buildings, from what he was saying. Yeah, it's a pipe dream, but who knows, Bishop? It should happen. So that's known as CreoleBlends.com, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to advertise with the channel, you can email me at gavin.jurich1@gmail.com. If you like premium content, go to the Patreon there on channel GBoo2786. And also, ladies and gentlemen, check out my music on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple Video Soul. And also check out our theme song, Gotta Get On Up. Now, of course, yeah, when just seeing gender neutral bathrooms, that was her main priority. Just like Biden's priority, he said, was LGBTQ. Of course, this is our theme song, Gotta Get On Up. So as we've gotten on down, it's time to get on up, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all this Thursday. We'll go ahead and play this song, our exit song, ladies and gentlemen. Bishop Scott, I appreciate you. Yeah, you come on the show if you like. Just hit me a text. All right, guys. Have a good night. Be safe and be blessed. I'll holla.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop, I'll do the bunny hop, baby. really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor.
Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor.
Get on up, baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up, baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Good night, guys. We'll see you Thursday. So, shout out to Computer Robots for giving me that story earlier. I'm out. I'm ending just at the time, Bernard. Yeah, I gotta go watch Chucky with the old lady. All right. Good night. I'll see you Thursday. As well as Charles Barkley. We'll see you Thursday too. Peace out, guys. I wasn't supposed to be on camera doing Charles Barkley. My mistake.